Welcome to Monday's Mental Mistakes. This week we're looking at the fundamental attribution error. The fundamental attribution error is the tendency to interpret other people's actions as being representative of their character or personality, rather than as a result of situational factors. That is, when determining other people's motivations, we tend to focus on internal rather than external explanations. The fundamental attribution error makes us more likely to consider other people's actions as part of a broader pattern of behaviour, rather than as just individual actions. At the same time, we're less likely to consider the various ways in which their situation may have caused them to behave that way. Here's a simple example. Think about a time when someone else has committed a relatively minor traffic infringement. For example, turning without indicating, cutting you off, or speeding past you. What was your immediate thoughts about the driver? If you're like most of us, your first and possibly only thoughts were probably that either they can't drive, that they're just inconsiderate, or possibly even worse. Now, think back to a time when you've done the same thing. Again, if you're like most of us, you probably dismissed your own driving as just being a result of temporary inattention, as being uncharacteristic of your driving overall, or as perhaps justified by the circumstances that you were in. The difference between the way that we habitually interpret other people's behaviour and the way that we see our own behaviour is the fundamental attribution error. The principal way to counter this is to ask yourself what might be happening for that person for them to act that way, which prompts us to look for environmental explanations. Another way is to ask yourself, what would it take for me to behave like that? Which helps us to judge them by the standards we use for our own behaviour. For example, when someone is late, it's useful to first consider the things beyond their control that could have made them late. When someone makes a mistake, remind yourself of your mistakes and how these aren't usually caused simply by stupidity. That's not to say that someone's actions are never a sign of a broader pattern of behaviour. It's just that we tend to jump to that conclusion on insufficient evidence, rather than waiting for a clear pattern to emerge. In conclusion, the fundamental attribution error is the tendency to interpret other people's actions as representative of their character, while discounting the effects of situational factors. Until next week, may your mental mistakes be minor.